Hey everybody, welcome to the second episode of 6 Degrees a Pod. I'm here with Janet Travis. She's an Austin, Texas-based actress. And I just wanted to talk to her about her interesting career and how she got there. Janet, if you want to go ahead and give a little intro about yourself and kind of let people know who you are and kind of your story up to get into to being an actress, I'm sure that they'll love to hear it.
Sure. Well, um, when I was in high school, I was very into theater and I did UIL, duet acting competitions. And through some of the duet acting competitions, I met someone who was associated with AMDA in New York, which is a really good drama school, and was offered an audition to go for a scholarship to get in.
Okay.
And yeah, and I was so excited about it. And I told my mother, and she said, "You can be a waitress in Texas. You don't need to go all the way to New York." True. And so that was a no. And so I went to Texas A&M. Like I wasn't even allowed to go to UT because UT was too far away from my hometown. So basically, I was drawn like a circle around my hometown with a radius of like you can go within this circle. And so
The
I went
school's within this radius, so you can come home on the weekends, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I went to A&M. I was not allowed to do anything that had to do with drama. Like my parents were really against it. I couldn't major in it.
Oh.
I did things on the sly. There was a grad student who was applying to Juilliard. And so for his thesis, he had me sing something that he had written. So I did little sneaky things on the side, but
Okay.
yeah. And then, but I majored in Spanish and minored in Latin and became a
Wow.
teacher and got married and had 4 kids. And I thought that was just kind of it.
Hmm.
And then my second born, my second oldest, Jackson, from a very young age was very artistic and artsy and reminded me a lot of like what I was kind of like when I was a kid.
Hmm.
And he kind of got the acting bug and wanted to give it a whirl. And, um, my husband Wade and I were like, well, we want to encourage this. I mean, it's fine with us.
Yeah.
Let's let him see where it goes. Um, he clearly was not into sports at all. Only he played soccer, but he would only play soccer when he was 5 if he liked the uniforms. He'd be the kid running around and the ball would like hit him and he'd be like, why did that ball hit me? Like,
It's like,
no
eh.
clue what was going on. So we're like, maybe this is his thing. Um, and so he started taking some acting classes in Austin and started auditioning and actually did really well. And around this time, my mother got diagnosed with cancer and she got really sick. And it was just
Mm.
a very stressful time. And my husband, who was very wonderful and very supportive, said to me, it might be a really wonderful thing for you to take some acting classes, like Jackson is. It just might help you out, help you cope with things. And
Some sort of outlet for
exactly,
the
exactly.
things that are
And
going on. Yeah.
yeah, and so I did. And within goodness, a month or two of starting, I was signed by an agent. And then I had my first
Wow.
audition. And my first audition was for a supporting role in a feature film called Grow Up Tony Phillips. And I got it. So the first thing I ever auditioned for, I got, and it was a movie. And then
Wow.
that movie made it into South by Southwest. And then there was a period of time for probably 6 or 8 months where I think I pretty much booked everything that I auditioned for because redheads were like really in. And so I did a lot of commercials and industrials and it just kind of kept going. And then, there would be a lull. Um, but I've been working consistently pretty much ever since. And now I I guess it's been it's weird to say 3 years ago that 2018 was 3 years ago. It just
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like we lost a whole year somehow. Um, but I wrote my first short film, and um, and a friend of mine, Liz Tabish, wanted to shoot it, wanted to make it, and we did. It was called Mother's Day, and we did
Hmm.
that, and it cleaned up and like, I mean, it won all kinds of festivals and got all sorts of awards and did really, really well. And the actress that was the lead in Mother's Day, um, and Liz Tabish and myself, so Ashley James, Liz Tabish, and and me formed Maenad Productions, and so now I have a production company in Austin, and
That's cool. Yeah.
we make movies. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. Oh, by the way, I actually have a copy if everybody wants to see what it looks like of your
Right.
movie, Grow Up Tony Phillips. um, uh, I was going to ask you about the production part because and how like you're an actress, but you're based out of Texas, and that's got to be difficult. And I feel like most of the jobs. I mean, I know there's stuff in Georgia now, and maybe the
Right,
Austin
right,
thing's kind of growing, but usually it's New York and California that everybody thinks about. And I was
right.
just wondering how you manage that with a family, and if you do have to go over there, like how did you manage that, and did you stick
Well,
to Texas rules, or how'd that work?
I would take a role anywhere. I just want to put that out there. But but when I first got in, it's really interesting. When I first started, and I think that's one of the reasons why there were so many job opportunities when I first got into acting in Texas, was because Austin was becoming like, Austin was set. You think if you aren't in California, everyone's pretty familiar with the fact that a lot of stuff shoots in Atlanta. But
Yeah, yeah.
Atlanta wasn't Atlanta yet. Austin was supposed to be the next thing, and it was
Okay.
booming, and it was just like, it was a boom town for production, and everything shot here. And then our lovely conservative um, people down in the capital decided to pull all the funding from, and all the tax breaks.
Oh, the
And
tax
so
breaks and the
when they
funding and
pulled the
stuff.
tax breaks, stuff started going elsewhere. Stuff started
Mm.
diverting to like New Mexico, and then Atlanta. And so some of that's coming back now. It was really
Oh,
starting to
good.
come back, and then COVID hit. Um,
Yeah.
so so yeah, it actually was a true hotspot for production for a while, and then until the tax incentives got pulled. But now we've got them
Okay.
again. We just need to get through COVID, and so everyone can film, because there's stuff filming here now, but it'll shoot for a couple of weeks and then have to shut down because someone tested positive, or it's
Right, right.
there's nothing
Yeah.
consistent. Yeah,
Yeah, because I kind of remember, like, when I'm thinking acting, it's always New York and California, like the Los
hmm,
Angeles area. And then all of a sudden, maybe 10 years ago or so, I started seeing this Georgia logo at the end of movies. And I'm like, when did that start
right,
happening? And it
right,
sounds like Austin was kind of ahead of that. And then, like you said, it started moving over to Atlanta after the tax cuts. And now it's starting to
right.
come back. Okay, that's really interesting because I know people who, are interested in the industry, but they're like, I don't know where to go because they don't want to go to New York, really. California is okay, but the cost of living, especially starting,
Right, right,
is crazy. So now that stuff like Atlanta and Austin are opening up, they're like, well, I'd be willing to do that.
right.
So I suspect that there'd be a lot of growth in the future also for that kind of thing. So yeah, how is COVID going, and with the film industry in Austin? I know
Well,
California is really rough, but yeah.
well, we actually shot our Minded Films shot a film in July, and it was really weird. There was,
Mm,
I mean, they have like, there's rules and things that you have to do on set, and
mm,
so we had to have like a stripped down crew, and um, couldn't have that many actors involved at all. Um,
mm,
and then it just kind of, it seemed like things just kind of got worse, and so then it was just kind of silent for a good 6 months. And then like now, after the new year, it's like people see the light at the end of the tunnel, and so it's like people are
mm.
starting to like, okay, let's get this going, let's plan for this. And
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm actually a part of three different things that are shooting this spring and this summer. Well, one of them, I don't know if it's going to be even by the summer because it's a pretty big enterprise. But I leave tomorrow, and if you didn't think they were filming in Austin, well, let me tell you, they're filming in Beaumont. I'm driving going to Beaumont um, to shoot a pilot. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, and then in the summer, I'm supposed to go to Mexico. I have been this Mexico production has been in the works for the last year and a half, and there's always been something bumping it. And COVID was the big thing that just kept moving it, moving it, moving it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so now I was supposed to go in last March, and then I was going to go this March, and then they moved it to June, and now it's moved to August. And I think August is a date that everyone's comfortable with because
Oh,
we should
okay.
all have vaccines by then.
Yeah, and
So
it'd probably be on the downward trend and
yeah,
stuff. So yeah,
yeah,
huh? Interesting.
yeah.
Um, so for your production company, what do you do exactly? I mean, people hear about production companies, but what are you hoping to achieve with it, or what actions are you taking in the industry doing that, as opposed to
So
just like acting?
yeah, so the thing that's interesting about Maenad Productions is that it's kind of focused on the stories of women.
Okay.
Um, we did a whole anthology called Tales of the Dancing Maenads, and it basically kind of addressed all of the major archetypes. It's like, maternal, the seductress. It's like we told
Okay.
all the different stories of all the different archetypes of women. And then with
Hmm.
Mother's Day, we delved into generational trauma
Oh,
and
okay.
um, and how you can move forward just by understanding what happened to someone, your parent, your mom,
Oh,
on
okay.
Mother's Day is the case. And we were surprised when we did Mother's Day because a lot of men really responded to it and were like,
Hmm.
um, I don't know why I just sat and cried through the whole thing, but I just feel like I just had this aha moment with my dad,
Uh,
or with my
right, right.
mom, you know.
Yeah.
And so what we do is we tend so far the company's only 3 years old, so or no, 2 years old. Sorry, we one either Ashley, Liz, or I write the scripts, and
Okay.
then we audition actors for it. And Mother's Day was kind of an exception. Liz directed it, I wrote it. Ashley was the lead, and then I played mother, so I was in it.
Okay.
And we have a crew that we work with, and we just kind of make it happen. And sometimes that means crowdfunding. Sometimes that means finding investors that really want to be a part of it.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so mine. It is more like indie art house sort of things,
Okay.
and and so that's what that's about. It's
Okay, because
and if
I know a few people who have, they write scripts and they kind of have a vision for things and stuff, but they just don't know where to start with that. They're even willing to do the acting part.
right,
They'd prefer not to, but uh, they just don't know where to go with that. So when you said you had a production company, I'm like, oh, I wonder how she gets that going, to make these things. So it sounds like you're getting investors and you kind of have a crew in mind already. You probably have people that are kind of regulars, right?
yeah,
Um,
it's a
yeah.
lot of similar players.
Okay.
A year ago, actually yesterday, so last year, March 9th, we had a launch party because we were about to have crowdfunding for another 5 short films.
Oh,
And then
okay.
the world shut down. And one of the things that we're going to do as part of this crowdfunding was we were going to have like a contest so people could send in um, their screenplays. Send us your
Oh,
screenplay, and then we'll pick a winner, and then we'll make yours.
oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah. But all that got squashed, so we'll have to, put a pin in that and get back to that.
Yeah. That's
As
a
soon
really
as,
interesting concept, though. I like that concept,
yeah,
because there's lots of people that have, something they want to write down and stuff. And they'd love to see it come to film in,
yeah,
indie or whatever, to all the way to big production. But they're like, I don't know where to even start.
yeah. Don't know where
So
to
that's
go.
I like that concept. That's really interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
So you sound like you're really busy, and I want to know how you juggle it all, because it sounds like you're willing to travel around a little bit. You have children,
I do.
and I know for myself. I mean, I don't have any kids, and I feel busy all the time. So I can only imagine how busy you are, and I'm just
I,
wondering how you do it.
I don't just have, well, I've got four kids, and it's not even just that I've got the four kids. I've got four kids who have been so involved in so many different things. Um, Jackson, my kid who started out in acting, didn't stay in
Yeah.
acting. He moved on to music, and he got involved with School of Rock in Austin.
Okay.
And so he had rehearsals and lessons because he'd go for a lesson once a week, and then he started doing seasonal shows. And so then there was the seasonal show rehearsal, and it wasn't long after he got in it, then Addie got in it and became a drummer, and so that's two
Uh
kids going to rehearsal and
huh.
seasonal show rehearsal, and then they have the big seasonal show at the end. Then Anna Grace got involved. Well, when Anna Grace got involved, um, she didn't just do seasonal shows; she made the house band, and then which is even more rehearsals and more
Yeah.
shows, and um, and then she made not only the house band, but she made the All Stars, which was the national touring company. So she was just
Oh
like
wow.
every summer for 3 summers, she went to play. She played things like Lollapalooza and House of Blues in Vegas, and
Hmm.
recorded at Sunset Sound in L.A. And so I really don't know how I'm doing it. I, I think, and my husband's a doctor, so he's no help. so, so
He's busy too.
he's busy too. Now, actually, as much as he's able to help with the driving, and carrying kids to and fro and making sure that the house doesn't burn down, he's really good with that. He'll help out as much as he can. Plus, he loves the fact that all the kids do music. Our life for
Hmm.
like the past 5 years has been we're at a show, every other weekend, or we're seeing something, and so we love it because the kids when they have their seasonal shows, or when the house band plays, they play at clubs down in Austin, famous clubs. They play at
Oh
Ann
wow.
Jones, and um, they played at Anna Grace, and the house band played at Threadgill's, which Threadgill's was like Janis Joplin played there, and of course Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson's played everywhere here, but
Yeah.
but um, but yeah, so we've he Wade would be willing, my husband would be willing to do anything to make sure that the kids played their gigs. But
Uh-huh.
my oldest son has probably been my biggest help. He actually works in the industry. He is a camera operator. He can do anything on a
Oh.
set, and he still lives at home, and he is always more than willing to take someone where they need to be and to help me make everything work and juggle it. So I've been really lucky. It helps that
That's cool.
it helps that I started it when the kids were kind of older. So,
Hmm.
I just had, when I first started, I just had my youngest who was still really young. And there were times when I had auditions and I'm like, I'm sorry, you can't go to school. You have to come with mommy. Mommy has a call
So
back.
you want to skip school today, right?
Right,
Like,
right. So, so yeah, it's just we've just kind of made it work. If you really wanted to do something, you make the time for it. Was
hmm.
kind of what I
Yeah.
found. So
Yeah, that's kind of what like I said, I was interviewing my friend, the hip hop artist, last time, and he was saying the same thing. He just wanted it so bad
yeah,
that he was like, I'm just going to keep trying and trying, and I was talking to him about, stage confidence and stuff. He's like, I had to put myself out there, and now I really love it, so yeah, it just sounded like he made time. He was talking about how he went to college and took the music classes and then skipped all the other classes so that he could just like stay in the studio, basically. So it's kind of like your story about like, we're gonna skip school today because I got to go to this audition. You kind of
exactly,
make the time. you know
exactly, exactly.
so I was kind of curious what your plan is for the future with the production company and with the acting part too. Like, where do you see this going, basically?
That's a good question. As far as the production company, I haven't seen my production partners because of COVID, and
Yeah.
one of my I don't know if you've heard of The Chosen. It's on YouTube. It's like the largest crowd-funded Christian faith-based thing in the world. You should
It
Google
sounds
it.
familiar. It sounds
It's
familiar.
the story
Yeah.
of Jesus, you know. And my
Oh, no, I have heard of this. I have heard of this.
okay, well,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
partner Liz plays Mary Magdalene, so she's been
Oh.
off. Yeah, she's been off shooting for my goodness since November. I think is when she left to go shoot, and she's just now back in town. And we have plans. We're
Oh,
going to
wow.
see each other, be very safe about it next weekend, and so we'll probably talk about what we're going to do coming up.
Hmm.
But she's kind of trending upward right now, so she might be making a move to LA
Oh, wow.
pretty
Okay.
soon. Yeah. So I don't know what the future holds, but it's all good. It's all
Do you think you'd ever do that? Like, if the your career continued to go upward, move to LA, or are you more interested in bringing the industry to you?
I think I would if I had an opportunity there, I would because I've discussed this. I discussed this in the very beginning with my husband, and he said he would try to get me a place there, just to rent. Like, so if I'm
Oh, yeah, yeah.
needed on set for like 6 weeks, but always come home. Like Austin would always be home, but be able to,
Okay. That's kind of what I'm wondering. Is Austin's
yeah,
always home, but you could have like a little crash pad over there somewhere
exactly,
that's ready for you if
exactly,
you wanted to be on set and stuff. That's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, because like I don't know. I see a lot of people moving there, especially people that are like kind of media influencers and stuff like that. They'll just like jump over and move to Los Angeles, and I'm like, I don't know if I would do that, unless you were working constantly, or I don't know. It seems like a big move, that wouldn't really feel like home. I'd just be at work all the time.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And it takes it for an actor, like they tell you here in Austin, they're like, if you move to LA, it's going to be 5 years of nothing. And that's a long
Wow.
time to be there doing something else so you can
Yeah,
survive, you know,
yeah.
until you
Wow,
start
that's a
to
long time.
get on everyone's radar and get called in for things. And so I would just rather find another way to get onto someone's radar and be able to stay home and then
Yeah,
fly out
yeah.
if they need me. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I know it's a really tough out there. My
yeah.
brother-in-law went down there for film school, and I think he might have specialized in script writing and some photography stuff. Um, but he tried finding work out there, and then COVID hit, and he was like, "There's nothing,"
Yeah,
like so. He tried for quite a while, and he's still kind of looking, but he's like, it's hard in regular times, let alone
right.
COVID times, you know. So yeah.
I can't even imagine moving out there and right then COVID hitting. I would just, oh
Hmm.
my God.
Well, he actually had finished school, and then he was like, "I'm ready. Let's go do this," and then it hit. So it's like the
Uh,
worst possible timing, you
yeah,
know. But yeah, it's probably rough no matter what,
yeah,
Just this just made it a little more, well, a lot more difficult,
yeah,
I'm not sure what it's like in Texas or like Los Angeles, but I know up here in the Northwest, it's pretty locked down. And it
Well,
has been
Texas is
for a
done.
year.
The Texas governor has decided that it's over and everyone can take their masks off and have parties and 100% capacity everywhere. And
Oh,
um,
really?
yeah,
Wow.
it's lunacy. It's like, no, like we're so close. Just hang on. So
Just a little longer.
it's a little longer. Yeah,
Huh. Wow. I know we all want to go back though, eventually and stuff, like, you know, so
safely though.
safely, of course,
Safely.
yeah. But
Yeah,
I know, people that like to perform, like you and like my friend that I was interviewing before. I mean, the COVID's like, just they're like, I haven't been able to do it, and I feel
yeah,
like I'm withering away, you
yeah,
know. So, I think it's especially hard for people that are in these like entertainment fields, because it's just disappeared, and they're like, but it's not just a job for them; they actually really enjoy it.
Right,
So now
right.
it's just gone, you
Now it's
know.
gone.
So and I
I had
know
someone
like,
ask me in an interview that I did a couple of weeks ago, and they said, "So, during this COVID time when everything's locked down, have you just been writing, 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 and creating and creating?" And I
mhm.
said, "No." I, I feel like all of that energy that I kind of channeled towards creating and writing, I've kind of had to turn it onto my kids. And it's like
Mhm.
now I'm like, I've got to have a bag of tricks at all times to like, talk them off the ledge and no, it's going to be okay and everything's
Yeah,
fine. And, so there's been a lot of that and it doesn't leave a lot of room for, I've got this great story to tell. It's just like,
right.
I'm done. I'm tapped
I-
out. I'm emotionally tapped out. Can't do it.
yeah, yeah. I think everybody's energy like just went to like getting through it, and
Exactly.
it's like, oh, well, at first it was like, oh, I'm gonna have all this extra time, and
Yeah.
but then after like a month or two, everybody was like, no, I'm just trying to get through it. Like,
Yeah, when it first hit, I was like, I'm really pretty much an introvert. I'll be fine. And then like
same here. Yeah,
by the summer, I was like, I can't go to the movie. I can't go to the now what
yeah,
am I gonna do? I can't go to the movie. I mean, it was
yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, I get to work from home.
yeah,
This is like a dream come true, and then I'm like, wait, when I get off work, there's nowhere to go.
yeah,
Like, it would have been ideal if there was somewhere to go, but I'm like, this is not quite what I wanted when I said I wanted to work from home.
exactly, exactly.
So yeah, but I'm hoping that like the entertainment industry like bounces back. I know my musician friend is saying that like a lot of the like music venues and stuff are locally owned, and
Yeah,
they're really having a hard time making it through because they don't have any funding except for those local shows and touring people that come through touring, and ticket sales.
right.
So he was saying that people really need to think about supporting local theaters when they come back so that they can make it through, because a
Absolutely.
lot of them are really struggling. So I'm hoping that that extends to the film industry too, because I'm sure that especially the little indie production places are struggling,
Yeah.
and it's like, please, when everything comes back,
Remember us.
remember us,
Yeah.
because all these little like mom and pop places are really struggling, and those big corporate places will make it through fine. They have
Yeah, they'll
tons
be
of extra
fine.
money to get through, so it's like, no, please help the little guy. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
so would you have any advice other than just putting yourself out there and auditioning for people who want to break into the industry, whether it's acting or the production side? Like, what are the resources that people would look into for that?
Um, well, I can tell you this, most major cities, even places like Chicago, if you live outside of
Hmm.
Chicago, of course, Atlanta, Dallas, Houston, Austin, just most major cities will have two things. If you're looking to get into the production side of it, they'll have um, casting directors, and
Hmm.
they'll have different production companies in that city. And the best way to start, if you're just like, I'd rather be behind the scenes, or maybe I just want to get on a set and see what it's like, or
Hmm.
um, contact either a casting director or one of those production companies and intern, and just put yourself there, and because they're always looking for, it's like the most abused person on a set, but they're PAs, and, and
Okay. Yeah.
and they're always looking for fresh blood, because that's the person that everyone's screaming, "Where's my coffee?" What?
Yeah.
Where are all the extras? So, but it's a good place to learn the business, and to get on a set and to learn the ins and outs. Um, as far as if you are wanting to start acting, my biggest advice is you have to find a good teacher. You have to find a good teacher, and you have to study. A lot of people
Hmm.
say, "Oh, um, I'm just a natural," or "I've been told I have raw talent." Well,
Uh-huh.
that only gets you so far. And
Oh, okay. All right. Right.
there's really something about becoming an adult that sort of kills the natural ability that children have to just pretend and completely be something else,
Mm,
to the point to where you
right,
can
right.
convince them that they're not that thing. Um, and so it really matters that you train. You have to train. You have to find um, someone who is able to connect with you and help you grow in your craft.
Hmm.
When it comes to writing, um, you just have to write. You just have to put it out there. You can't say, well, I'm going to wait until maybe I've got, the whole story figured out. If you've got a little kernel of the story figured out, just start writing, because it'll fill itself in. It'll write itself. And
Okay.
then there are actually, if you've got people who write screenplays and don't know what to do with them, there are festivals and actually film festivals that have categories just for screenplays. That's a great place to get your work
Oh,
seen. You can go to this thing called the Film Freeway, and they will tell you, it'll list every single major film festival and even minor ones in the world. It'll tell you if it's an Oscar qualifying festival, and it basically kind of lets you know the important festivals where you can enter your work. And so that would be a great thing for someone who has a screenplay and doesn't
okay.
know what to do with it. They could, get it in front of someone that way, and and see what kind of feedback they get.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, because like I think a lot of people, if they're even interested in it, just don't even know where to go.
Right.
Um, even just to see what it's like on set, it's like where would I even go?
Yeah.
So I think that's really helpful because you know, I I've never been on a set, and I think a lot of other people haven't. So it's like I don't even know the ins and outs because usually everybody just sees the finished produced product,
Right.
and the set's got to be completely different.
Completely
Like you always
different.
see those behind the scenes things, and it's like that doesn't look anything like what I saw on screen. What's going on here? And it's like, oh, that's the magic, you
That's
know.
right.
Like,
That's right.
so like I don't remember what actor it was, but they were saying that like 75% of their job was like standing around, and they were like, yeah, I'm just standing here waiting for my cue because they have to like make sure the lighting's right
Hmm.
and the marks are all right, and I'm just standing here.
It's
Like,
called hurry up
you
and
know
wait. Hurry up and
yeah,
wait is what we
exactly.
call it.
Yeah, yeah.
When we shot Mother's Day, we had an incredible DP, director of photography. His name's James Burniston, and he was amazing. But he is in no hurry. And so he would be like relighting or resetting because he wants to get it just right. And he would be
Right.
working on that. And Liz would say, James, how long? And he always said, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. And so we started calling it the Burniston 10 because it's not 10 minutes. Like it's going to be at least
Right,
half an
right.
hour. But he would, yeah, it's a lot of waiting around, a lot of waiting
Well,
around.
I imagine, especially with a director of photography, like there's so many different people there that are artists, and the director of photography is like a photographer basically, and he wants that perfect shot, and
Perfect shot.
you know,
Yeah.
so so for him, he's like, I don't care about the acting part. I just want, or the time. I just want this nice shot, you know.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah, and then you have multiple people doing that. The director of photography, the cinematographer. That everybody's got their little, their world of art that they're trying to make perfect, and then you have to make them
Exactly.
all mesh together.
Yep.
So I imagine there's a lot of like waiting around, or like, no, that doesn't work for me, and maybe you have to compromise a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. You
So
talk
that's
about
probably where you get that idea of like the hectic backstage, like you said, hurry up and wait. It's like
yeah.
go go go. Okay, now everybody calm down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You just reminded me when you were talking, when we were shooting Mother's Day, talk about crazy things that happen on a set. We were filming in Dallas at a place called the Shag Palace, which is an actual place.
Huh.
um, it's it's this weird little guy that got it, like inherited it from his grandmother,
Hmm.
and his grandmother built it in 1968, and literally nothing has been changed since then.
Oh
So it's
wow.
like shag carpeting, all the fixtures, like tufted walls and weird like wallpaper, and it looks like you stepped in a time machine, basically.
Wow.
And so we stayed there and we shot there, and
Huh.
one day, I mean, it wasn't even in the forecast. This huge storm blew in. like date like they had like cameras and stuff set up outside because and lights outside the house, and all out of nowhere this storm just comes out of nowhere. And I mean, we thought there was gonna be a tornado. The winds were picking up, and we got like 2 or 3 inches of rain just like that,
Wow.
and trees were snapping in the backyard, and we were like, this is it, we're all going to die. And then the power went out, and the problem with the power going out is we only had 2 days to film, and like the power went out for hours and hours.
Oh no.
And one of the we were like, we got to do something, we have to figure something out. And the one of the guys who was in charge, one of the lighting guys, is genius. He went and got his Kia and pulled his Kia up to the front of the house and basically powered lights from his Kia, from the yeah. And so it kind of changed the scene a little bit, but it made it it's one of the best. It wound up being one of the best scenes in the entire thing, and it was completely powered by a Kia. Because we had to, because we couldn't light the scene, we couldn't get any electricity.
It kind of like, I think it's a Bear Grylls quote for, the survivalist guy that used to have,
Yeah.
he was on TV too. It's kind of that like, was it adapt, overcome, persevere, or something like that.
Exactly.
It's kind of the same thing. It's like, you got to make it happen. So figure it out.
That's right. Figure it out. Yeah. Yeah.
So I was just wondering if you had any like I have them listed here as like shout outs, but it's like, anything you want to let people know about, like future projects or festivals, stuff like that, charities,
Absolutely.
whatever it is.
Absolutely. So tomorrow I leave to go shoot a pilot. It's a project called Against the Ropes, and I think there's going to be more to come on that in the future, because I think they're going to set up a website, and people will be able to kind of find out what's going on with that. It's a true story, based on a true story about a boxer who became a trainer, and kind of the other side of the boxing industry that you don't really see, and you don't really, like, everybody knows the story of Rocky, but you don't really know what goes on behind the scenes.
Right.
So it's about that. I play the boxer psychologist. So,
nice. Which is a real thing. Sports yeah, that's a real thing though. Sports psychology is a real thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I learned that a few months ago, and I was fascinated by it.
Yeah.
So,
and then another project that I have coming up is called Time Girl, and it is the story of Amelia Earhart.
Oh, cool.
Not the true story of Amelia Earhart. It's like it's going to be a combination of oh gosh, I don't even know how to describe it. Part of it's going to be live action, part of it's going to be animation. And
okay, that's cool.
When she's in the present time, it's live, and when she goes back, she's able to travel through wormholes and get into another dimension where there's a very other reality and a very evil person who's trying to take over that reality and the live version of reality. And I play the evil character. I'm the villain.
You play the villain? That's got to be so fun.
I play the
so you're playing the villain in the alternate world?
Yeah, who wants to take over everything. Yeah.
That's cool. So does that mean you're going to be doing some voiceover work?
Voiceover and live action as well. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm fascinated by like voiceover stuff. It's kind of how I started doing this, is because I was like, just like the acting industry, it's a really hard thing to get into. And I was like, I could just like have a podcast and just use my voice however I want.
That's true.
And just see what happens, But I've always been fascinated by the voiceover narration part of things. So it's really cool that you're doing that, and I hope to hear more about that, because I'm really interested in that. Yeah,
absolutely.
So anything else?
No. Nothing else.
I'm intrigued by the On the Ropes one too, because of the it's like so it sounds like it's going to be like the Mickey side of of Rocky, basically, like the trainers, what goes on in the background,
Right.
because most of these fighters have a team of people like
Yes.
with them. It's not just them,
It's
but a lot of
yeah,
times in film, it's just the one guy and his grit, and I'm like, there's a whole team of people behind that.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and the other project that I forgot to mention, the one in Mexico, is like a kind of a not horror, but kind of mystery. And the thing that I found interesting since I've been working with this director trying to make this project happen
Hmm.
is Mexico is still on a studio system. Like if you think back to like the way it used to be, like back in the 40s, and when the studio owned that actor basically and made movies, and you know
Oh,
what
oh
I'm
yeah,
talking about?
like I like back in the I Love Lucy time
Right,
frame.
right, right, right.
Okay, yeah.
That studio system still exists there. So, um, so he is part of a studio that there's just so much money. Like when they go to make something, it's like they're throwing plane tickets left and right to fly people in,
Wow.
and it's it it's good because you can get your whatever you're trying to do made. You can get your stuff produced easily as long as everyone likes it. If there's a problem, there's a lot of hoops to jump through. But it's just interesting to work with um, a director who's still in the studio system. So he still has to. It's weird, very different
It's
from
like
independent film.
yeah, it's probably like going back in time a little bit.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like a time capsule of the entertainment industry.
yeah.
Because I've heard stories about how it used to work back then, and I'm like, that's really strange. It sounds like you were basically an employee
Right, right,
of that studio.
right.
You know, this might not be a good analogy, but I've heard like it kind of reminding me of like the old mining towns.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you worked for the mining company, but you lived there too. They owned you
Right,
basically.
right.
So it's a very interesting system. But it sounds like they have tons of resources to bring people in
Yeah,
and allow you to work. So that's really cool.
yeah.
So
And hopefully I make it there August. Fingers crossed.
August, I think by August we'll be okay. Like, I mean, even up here where we're being really strict and stuff, they're slowly starting to let people like come back to places. So
Yeah.
hopefully, what is that? 4 months from now? 5 5 months. 5 months from now,
I,
right?
I, I would hope so. Um,
Yeah, I would hope by then.
I would hope so. Yeah.
So, well, cool. I really appreciate you coming and talking to me. This has been a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Um,
I
if
was
there's
honored
anything
that you
else you want
thought
to
of me.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Like when I first started this, I was like, oh, I definitely want to talk to her if she'll like come on and stuff because that's a really interesting world that I'd like to know more about, and I'm sure other people would too. So, and I was like, I happen to know somebody that can talk about this. So, but I just wanted to thank you again for coming on, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. And I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Next week, I'm going to have on. Uh, an old coach of mine, Jason Lonsberry. He's like a fitness like guru genius guy, and we're going to talk about diet and exercise. And he runs multiple gyms throughout the country actually. So I'm going to talk about how he manages that kind of multi-franchise aspect and stuff. So that should be interesting. So I hope
That should
people
be
tune
really
in next week for that
interesting.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but thank you again, Janet, and I
You're
hope you have a great
welcome.
day.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.